products. We are not, okay, maybe I can take it a little bit back. We're looking at importance of family values in today's society, importance of family values in today's value. We know that family is the bedrock of any society. And therefore, when we look at the subject itself, that value is a critical part that shapes the society, first and foremost from the family, and then it goes into the society, goes into a nation, ultimately goes into the world, goes into the world. And I just said earlier that your personal core values define who you are, and that your attitude is an expression of your values and expectations. And before I go on, we are 20 in this forum here now. Can we quickly just put it in the chat room? Personally now, your personal value now, maybe two topmost, not necessarily topmost, but two values that are very dear to you. Can you just go into the box and just put it, either two or one, but at least not more than two. Can we just have it and let's take a look at some of the values that personally that we have on our own. I'm watching, I'm waiting, so you can just go ahead. It can be one, just type one. I just want it to be engaging so that we can all be a part of this. Respect, thank you, Esther. Family, honesty, integrity, empathy, and kindness, thank you. Integrity, yeah, faith and kindness, spiritual mama. Forgiveness, I like that, Esther, forgiveness, yeah. If we can have more, integrity and faith, yes. Thank you, Ola, Jola. Love, Israel, I know, yeah. Respect, okay. Move from spirituality now, respect, yes. Thank you very much. Honesty and fear of God. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Passion, yeah, yeah. Love, yes. Thank you very much for all those. One thing we have to understand is it's not new to us. It's not new to us that we are a product of our past experiences, and we're a product of the environment that actually shaped us into who we are today. And therefore, when you look at it very closely, you know that if you want to know who someone is, or you want to know who you are, you start from the very source, the very beginning, and the beginning has to do with the area of thoughts. You know, the set of thoughts that we have over time graduate into words. It shapes what we say. And what you say consistently over a period of time have a way of shaping your action, because it motivates what you do. It influences your action. It influences your decision, and your action over time that is consistent with your nature. Somebody will not look at you and say, Mr. Bokun, you have a habit of doing this. Esther, you have a habit of doing that. So you could see how it translates right from the thought level to action, and that's what is now having an impression about you as a habit, and from the habit being consistent over a period of time, they said that is who he is, or that is who she is, turning into a character, turning into character. And now, why I love the subject so much is because we're saying the importance of family values in today's society. So the person emanated from a family, and because you emanated from a family, you are actually programmed right from the onset. And if we are not paying attention, but we're looking at in today's world now, in today's world, what we see as values then is evolving, or they are evolving. All those values are evolving. And what someone will react to and will not feel comfortable with, then now it's become like a norm. It's become a norm. And the norm doesn't necessarily mean that it is right, because of the idea of what was obtainable then, that maybe the way of life of people then, the way they've taken a situation, they actually took it to the extreme, And because they took it to the extreme, it disempowers individuals. And when they grow up, it takes a vital part of their potential away from them. Now, in the pursuit of liberation, in the pursuit of becoming free, we now run to the other extreme, whereby some values that we actually get from being disciplined, from being taught the aspect of responsibility, being taught the aspect of love, being taught the aspect of kindness, being taught the aspect of faith, being taught the aspect of integrity, that had not been taken away right from the point where you now see a child being told that he or she have the right to make a decision, even when the brain is not yet fully developed to understand between right and wrong. So you could see how the thing metamorphosed, evolved into a new age that we are in, and we are now seeing different set of values coming up. And unfortunately, if it's not managed properly at the family front, and that child escaped into adulthood, that is what the child will bring to his or her world. And once that child is shaped in a particular way, based on certain values, the person therefore have a filter through which he or she interprets situations, or interprets people, or interprets context. And that informs the quality of decision the person makes. Now, whether we like it or yes, you are being shaped anyhow, somehow. And because you are shaped somehow, the shaping can lead into a disempowering contribution to the society, or it can lead to an empowering contribution to the society. And that's why it's important that we look at it from this perspective. And I noted down here that values are the principles that help you decide what is right and wrong and how to act in various situations. Values are the principles that help you to decide what is right and wrong and how to act in various situations. You know, the world has made the difference. The world has made the difference between right and wrong to be a tiny line today, just like what I've tried to explain. You see someone even operating with good set of values being mocked in the midst of the kind of people that he or she finds around in this our present age now. It's being turned around to make someone with good set of values now feeling out of place or feeling odd, as if he or she is the one that have the wrong set of values. Unfortunately, some parents are even fanning this kind of thing into flame and encouraging it in their children, and that's how they have actually grown into adulthood. So I said your personal values will go a long way to determine what kind of impact or influence you will have on society or the nation at large, what you have on society or nation at large. Now, we're talking about the importance of family values in today's world. The importance. One critical part of it is that it provides a sense of identity and belonging. It provides a sense of identity and belonging. I put here that family values help individuals to understand who they are, where they come from, and what they stand for. Who they are, what they stand for, and where they are from. And this has a way of instilling sense of belonging in them and gives them a sense of purpose. A sense of purpose. We've given different set of values that we have. Imagine someone who grew from an environment, a child that grew from an environment, and an environment where love is missing, where the order of the day in the home is hatred, is deceitfulness, is not being truthful. And that child grows up with that kind of an environment. The child will grow up acting out in the same vein or similar vein where he or she now finds himself or herself. And this goes a long way in giving that person what he or she interprets be right or interprets be wrong. That's why any opportunity you and I have now to be involved in the lives of the youth that we have. Please let us seize and maximize the opportunity. I'm happy for an opportunity that I've been given currently now. There's a particular church that my children are very committed to, that they're going to. And recently, before now, at a strategic level, to the glory of God, at a strategic level, the topmost person there that oversees different churches, somehow we got connected. He has an idea of what I have in mind and what I'm capable of doing. And constantly he engages me. Sometimes we go for a coffee time, then we sit down. I'm at awe of God's grace and mercy, because I just realized how the back end, and this is a white church, dominated church, and the leadership is majorly church, and how he opened up the back end and the plan that they have for 5 years. And I saw how they were very deliberate about the need to include the youth. So I did that for almost 1 year, and some of the strategic decisions that we made eventually, they actually implementing. And today you see how full the church is. And recently, because I could see that if we don't shape the future of these youth, and we don't allow them to have this sense of belonging and to have a sense of purpose, they will grow up with identity crisis, and they will live life in a confused manner. And at some point in their lives, they will not be fulfilled. They will feel a form of emptiness, and they will not be able to address or understand where the emptiness is coming from. Because until you are the core of the purpose of your life, there's a sense in which whatever you do, even when you have material possessions and the rest like that, you still feel empty somehow, because you have been made for greater purpose. You have been made for something bigger than just your own personal survival. So when I saw this opportunity, recently, I don't now indicated interest, also make input in that their youth part. And when because it's a serious case here, you don't just jump. It's not like a developing country whereby you just, okay, I'm interested, you just come. What's your name? We write it. We're even happy to have you without doing any background check. Serious form that I was given, more like a background check, and just to be sure who I am. And in the process, when they saw the information, we want you to be here, because certain curricula that myself and my wife have developed and we're even using for a college in Cambridge, because that also came to their attention, and they said, okay, that we need to do this. And it's about soft skills. And now they recognize that, and I'm happy. I'm saying this so that you also know that within the little sphere that you are in, because it is that important that we must do something about it. So we call it House of Savior. We are making ourselves available to ensure that we are charting the course. If you are not charting the course at a point in time, you are supporting somebody that is charting the course. If you are not supporting the person charting the course, you are also coming up with your own ideas. You are coming up with your own idea. The whole picture here and the whole idea here is that you are maximizing your life so that you can make our world to be a better place to be. But with that, we have to connect it where we are coming from in the recent, which is the family values. And I say it provides a sense of identity and also belonging. Another aspect where it's that important is that it promotes positive relationships. It promotes positive relationships. And that is what I'm already saying here now. And I've been given options of time that I will be available and be free, so that I can come in on a consistent basis, whereby I can come and be sharing that perspective and that aspect there. So I'm saying that now as a huge opportunity. I'm talking about the UK citizens themselves, the real British people. They have a mix of other black, but there's more of those white-skinned people, and they could recognize that. And that's what we're saying. But we're saying it within the current reality of this present day now. You realize that the society you look at, especially or mostly in the developed world, when you look at it, sometimes your body wants to screech and you are a bit concerned, and you are praying about it and praying that, Lord, I pray that my children should be protected, because if you are not careful, you can lose your children to those vices. And if they become like them, they buy into it, then not our children. I always say that he's the enemy of our children that will not eventually be turned into that. You see high level of irresponsibility, you see high level of disorderliness, you see high level of immorality, you see high level, and you have to be extremely careful because you can be termed and labeled to say that you can be termed and labeled and you can get into trouble. Sorry, can you still hear me? Okay, thank you. You can be labeled, and it's such an interesting environment, and I'm loving it because it poses a new challenge to me. When I left Nigeria and I came 2020, I thought when I just come, yeah, ministry will start. It was a kindergarten learning for me as well, understanding how these things are. So that's why it is very, very important that we look at it within that context. Another thing is that it supports mental health. It supports mental health. One of the importance of family value is that it supports mental health. Now, when you don't run into crisis, or identity crisis for me, pardon me, identity crisis, then you have that sense of fulfillment, especially when you're fulfilling purpose. If you're fulfilling purpose, you are not at a point where you are feeling a sense of loss and a sense of confusion. And people who find themselves in that position sometimes now write themselves off and get depressed to a point where they can even become suicidal in their thoughts. But with the right set of family values instilled in place, where someone is able to get to that point of identifying his or her purpose, it helps to build and promote healthy relationship. And with that, it limits the issue of mental health. Instead, it produces healthy mental well-being for each and every one. And when good values are actually entrenched, you realize that children, as they move from their childhood stage into young adults to adults, they imbibe certain measure of responsibilities that make them become an asset, not a liability to the society or to the world, to society and to society and the world at large. Sometimes I'm off work and I'm on my way home. Sometimes I see how some people can just right inside the train can just be extremely loud. Sometimes I see how they are not even aware that it's lack of decorum, that you are in a public space and you are not considerate at all about people that are around. Sometimes you're hearing screaming. I even see somebody one time like that. As you look at myself, he was laughing because they have alcohol that they're already taking. Sometimes you have a pack of 6, sometimes a pack of 4. They're there shouting, some putting their legs on top of the thing. There was one that even looked at me and did this hand to me. I'm sorry to be using that in this video, but it can be that bad. And when I get down, because I live in Sheffield, I teach in Manchester. When I'm getting to Sheffield, if we have a football match, we see how I see the police, array of police officers, right from the station, several number of them are all along to where I would get my other bus that would finally get me home. Sometimes you see them in a horse and you see people just screaming, shouting, some are banging in terms of negative vices. Or is it the one that you see very young children and their definition of relationship is just to be able to cohabit, and as far as they are concerned, there's nothing wrong with it. We're saying family values here because it's so important that sometimes when parents don't see it as wrong, and that's one thing I'm noticing around, even parents create that environment where negativity is being entrenched or instilled in such children. And right from where they are toddler, they are moving, everything they see around them is what they pick at the end of the day, and they grow with it into adulthood. That's why they are shaped into who they are. And that traits, those set of values now follow them to impact on practically everything that they do, or practically on everything that they do. We've already mentioned some of our own values. I have a short time to go now, but some of those values, if we're looking at it, is we talk about kindness, we talk about honesty, we talk about even family can be a value, because if you are passionate about it, then it can be a value on its own. Hard work, respect, education can be a value, actually. Then career, giving, integrity, civil participation, where you encourage your children as they're growing up, help them have that sense of responsibility and contribution to the society, either in the politics or in the their corporate social responsibility, how they can give back to the society. Then you're also teaching them some set of values that has to do with responsibilities. And these are things that if we don't work on very well and we don't pay attention to, has a way of turning around and impacting the society. Either way is going to impact the society, but the impact that we're talking about in this context is an empowering one, so that we can go all out there and ensure that we do what needs to be done. Then we can be happy to be proud parents, proud brothers, proud sisters for the kind of contributions that we've given into them. My children and myself and my wife is a lot of work. Is a lot of work. And this is what I would say. In instilling these values, it's not something that you sit down and cross your leg. There must be a measure of intentionality. You have to be very, very deliberate about it. Our children, when they are much younger, because our own hard work is one of it, compassion is one of it, integrity is one of it, love is one of it. So we cannot rule those things out. And when they're growing up, how do you is it difficult love, you call it now? We love them, but we don't love them to allow them to do what will destroy their future. We love them, we want them to do the right thing, but at a particular stage of their life, they will not be happy because they want to have their own way. Yes, tough love. Thank you. Tough love. They will not be happy, but we won't say, even though we love you passionately, we won't compromise the values on the altar of saying we love you. It's because we love you, and that's why we have to put those measures in place. Now, recently, when we were having a devotion, the oldest, myself, my wife, when he was talking, we just turned and we looked at it. He said he was also admonishing his younger ones, the 17, then he was still 16, he was not yet 17, then the other one that was 10 plus, going to 11. He said, the way it is now, you might not understand. He said, but you know that they can see the end of they can see what the future looks like, and they understand more. They've been into the future. So whatever they're telling you now, you might not like it, but just keep at it. And after a while, you will understand. Say, because we give each person a time to share at that point in time. So we were happy because it means our effort had paid off and he's gotten it. But he himself talking, as at that time, was repulsive. I learned it from my mentor, and he said, whenever you're doing that and it looks as if your children are repulsive, they are not listening to you and the rest of that, he said, keep at it. Important thing is that there's a balance. You are not doing discipline or trying to correct them to the detriment of their self-esteem. Balance that. I suffered that, and I made sure that I won't allow that to happen in my own children's case, because in the process of trying to discipline somebody, you are not balancing it out. You end up not destroying their esteem. And when they grow up, it becomes a problem that you have to be dealing with. So there's a balance. And now they are growing into that knowledge. In fact, most of them can see it. We'll see quarrel, we'll see fight, we'll see tell them something later, but now more than often, they come back and they say thank you and they apologize. And I think that's what we need to see. And these are the people that will become the future of tomorrow. That's why we said the family is the bedrock of any society. Therefore, let us keep up the good work, because it is very important. Family values is very important, and we need not slow down. based whatever the current reality is today, we need to find a way around it so that it's not interpreted as against the law, that they can use it against us, but at the same time, you are measuring out something. Sorry, this last example, it just popped in my head now. Our son is in, two of them are, one of them is doing A level, the other one is in level 3 in the college. Both of them are in college in Sheffield. And they made an error in our oldest son, and my wife was insistent and trying to just communicate and say, let us have an appointment. And at the end of the day, we got the appointment. We're able to see the decision makers. And when we are done, they told us something, and that was profound. He said because we made it clear to them that we are involved in our children's life, that despite the fact that he's 19, and according to the law, from 18, you can do whatever you want to do. You can make decisions. I said, as far as we are concerned, even at 19, they still need some measure of guidance. We are very invested in their lives because it's for their good. They were so moved, and they said they will go back and review the position of things in the school and see how they can encourage other parents to also be more involved. So that is a positive feedback as far as I'm concerned. And that's to let you know the current reality, we cannot allow to play along with it. Instead, we have to change the norms. What is not working, we have to step in and make sure it's working. Bokun said that earlier on. What seems difficult, when we step in, we know that there's a way around it. It might be tough, but we know there will be a way out around it. It's all about being strategic about it and also being solution-minded and not problem-minded. When we are solution-minded, we find a way around it. If you're problem-minded, it becomes big and it becomes overwhelming, and you might not be able to do anything at all. So at that point in time, I think let me just put a stop to that, so that ultimately we try to avoid the impact on the society, because if it impacts the society negatively, it can bring about it can bring about a lack of sustainability. It can destabilize the state of the economy. It can destabilize the society. It can destabilize the entire world if we're not doing something about it. When we talk about socialization, whereby people get into the system, because we know that the primary institution that teaches an individual the norms, the values, and the custom of society is actually in this regard. And that's why it's important that we know that family values create a stable and supportive environment for individuals. And thank you very much. So I rest my case so that if there are any questions to be taken, sorry. It's such an interesting and huge one that we can go on and on and on and on. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, to everyone that's been listening, what has this session been like for you? I'd like to read from you in the chat. What has this session done for you before I say my own words? Let's encourage Dele Agbogun. It's been of value, it's added value to us this evening. It's touched on practical tips. It's used very, very simple examples that we can relate to. He's talked about his children. I think one of the things that he said that was really powerful for me was the fact that when he talked about his 19-year-old, I know that sometimes my daughter will say, oh, mommy, once I'm 18, and I'm like, I'm not saying don't turn 18, but guess what? Even when you're 18, as long as you're still living in this house, where you are not, we have rules, so we have to follow. I'm like the landlord of my house, so, and, it might sound funny, but those are some things that we need to start bringing to bear, because those who have made those laws, they don't necessarily have it all or know it all. And that's why we must all get to that point where we're in places of leadership, we're in places of authority, where we're in places where we can influence and make decisions. I heard something really powerful yesterday. Somebody was talking about the fact that, sometimes for those who are Christians who do a lot of, or you come to the UK, you want to evangelize, you want to get people. He said there is no evangelism without influence in the Western world. And that is so true, because what you talked about earlier, Dele, is about the influence, how you've been able to little changes that you can bring in. So in your workplace, what are you doing to influence the things that, and then somewhere along the line, someone's going to acknowledge and say, oh, actually, and I asked a question at the beginning. I said, who attended the coronation
Coronation.
It might seem like a simple question, but guess what, guys? We need to start getting to that point where we're so influential and they can't do without us. Such an event should not be taking place. And, you know, at least one person should have an invite to say, yes, Bokun has invited, and you just see me with my gay lady. Oh, hey, you Ijebuge, I know how to do those kinds of things. So, you know, it's that point that we're all getting to. So I would like to take some questions. If you've got questions, please put it in the chat. And I'm sure you can read what people are saying. People are saying practical has been good for them in terms of feedback. So let me see if anyone has got a question. I've got a question, but I don't want to jump to my question. Oh, I think there's someone has asked that I have a question. Yes, I'll take your question shortly. You know, so think about your questions. If you've got questions, please put it in the chat so that I'll pick it up. So one of the things that I picked up when you were talking, and I think is so crucial, and that links to my question, I'll ask after I've picked up Esther's question. You said something really powerful. You said having the right family values, it prevents identity crisis. Yeah. And you see, one of the things I realized in this world that is happening is a lot is that when people start getting to that point when they say, oh, I am, I don't know if I should use the word depressed, or when they start saying, oh, they have mental, they say that, you know, they're getting to that point where they're depressed, they're just not happy and all that. One of the things that I think they've been able to link back psychologically is that when you forget who you truly are, a non-remembrance of who you truly are, of self, can easily lead. So somebody looks at me and says, oh, Boko, you're an elephant. That's your problem. How dare you call me an elephant? Or let's use our modern world that we're in. Let's even go deep into, since we're being practical. Somebody comes to me and says, Boko, you are a man. You know, now those are people. I'm not going to respond to you because I can't be telling you who I am. I know who I am. And I know I am not. So there's no point. So we need to get to that. Our children need to get to that point of knowing who they are and the values that we've put in them. So for instance, there was a time I was writing about my story. And every time I say my story, I always say that there's no way I'm going to write my story without talking about my dad. So I lost my dad at a very young age. I was only 12 when I lost my dad. But guess what? At age 12, the values that he had put in me, the family values that he had put on in the house, have been so strong that no matter where you put me, there are certain things I would not do. Instead, every time it feels like, oh, someone wants to leave me somewhere, I tell anyone and anybody that there are things I would not do. You know why? I will tell myself, most times I will remind myself, me, you know, I'll just go, me, the child and the son, the daughter of so and so person. I know who my father is. So, and that's for someone that I only spent 12 years with, but the values that I put, hard work, love, compassion, humility, they were strong and they stayed with me. So what values are we modeling to? What are your children seeing you as? What can they see in mommy and daddy and say, those things, well, if you like, throw me anywhere. Throw me into the desert, throw me anywhere. These values will be reproduced. They are so strong that it won't die. We need to start getting to that point where we're living those values that are right, so that we will inject our children so much with the right values, such that the values we've injected into them are like the antivirus, that when the virus of the world comes, they fight it to a point that they're like, you can't destroy me because I've got that antivirus that's going to, push you out. And that's so strong. And I don't know, I want, if we're really listening to Dele, I want you to put in the chat one thing you're taking away from all the things I said. What is that one thing you've taken that, you're going to hold on to? For me, I've said it when it's talked about identity. So having the right family value, it prevents identity crisis. Identity crisis, forgetting who you truly are, has been a major, major challenge that many people are facing. So I just want to read from people. If there's one thing that you've taken away, somebody else might be listening and picking up just that one thing. So I want every one of us to, while I read the question, if there's one thing that stood out for you, one thing that you're going to take action on, just put it in the chat and I'll read the questions that we've got. So I've got 2 questions, I think, so far. So Esther said, she was talking about how do I draw a vision board for my family. So, that one we probably can't go through, but Esther can possibly work with, yourself, and we can have a separate time where you take out. I know because it takes a while for you to actually do a proper family
Yeah.
vision or a vision board. Then she's saying, how do I highlight values that are age appropriate for my children? That's one. And the second one is, my children listen to other caregivers. 1 second, this thing is, they listen to other caregivers. They listen to me. Other caregivers complain that they don't listen very much. I think they listen to me out of fear. How do I tackle this? So 2 questions in one, which I'm going to answer. How do I highlight values that are age appropriate for my children? And then my children listen to me. Other caregivers complain they don't listen very much. I think they listen to me out of fear. How do I tackle this?
Thank you very much. Good question. Age appropriate values. I think the most effective approach is when you model those values. Myself and my wife in the home, deliberately, we do certain things intentionally. Then it became the norm. One of the values is that they know that I respect my wife a lot, and they know my wife respects me a lot. So deliberately in our daily interaction, it's obvious. They see me go to kitchen, I wash plates. They see me go to the lawn, I lawn more. I mop, I sweep, I wash toilets. They see me deliberately hug mommy. Every time they see me deliberately kiss mommy. They see me sometimes do something naughty. We're teaching them how they can be friends with their partners. Now, you are not literally saying, sit down, Oga, sit down, lady. I'm telling you this. No, it will not work. When they see it and it's consistent, it becomes part of them. My wife, she's working at home, and if I'm off and she goes early in the morning, I can just go to the kitchen. She likes her fruit to be in fruit. Sometimes it could be with yogurt. Sometimes just be fruit and a tea, a green tea with some lime and all those things. But I arrange it in a honorable way and I take it to her. There was a time I was fagged out, I was tired. My first son did exactly the same. My daughter, there was a time I posted a video and I was just dancing with her. I didn't know. I was just on her. We're just enjoying ourselves. Natural. It has become a natural thing. But my wife captured it, and I love it. And I posted it. I said, Dad, be the boyfriend your daughter will be having when she's at that age. Mothers, be the girlfriend to your sons that they will be having when they are older. Now, we try to balance it for them, because sometimes my son, so say, when I grow up, I want to marry somebody like my mom. My wife quickly cautioned it, because so that you don't put an unrealistic expectation of, because mommy knows how to cook very well, you now create a problem for your wife. But we balance it out in the way that, okay, you will love somebody that is God-fearing. You will love somebody that is sensitive. You will love somebody that will love you for who you are, not for your material possession. And so these are ways where it helps to, because when we want to tell age-appropriate values now, love, I demonstrated love in that sense. And whatever the age, they can interpret it. My every time, because I'm in Manchester now, because of train strike, I came in, I'm sleeping in Manchester today, I'm sleeping in Manchester tomorrow, because I teach today and tomorrow. My daughter was literally crying. You could see the bond that had been established. Now, she's overdosed with love. I'm very sure one of her strong values is going to be love. And there's no man who missed road will come and think that he will use love as a bait for her. If you just say something, I love you, even though it's not coming from your heart, because she's been overdosed with love. So that's the way it can be built. Then if a child is looking at it and maybe they are listening because you feel it's out of fear, it's born out of fear. I was obeying my dad very well because he's a disciplinarian, but he took the being disciplined to the extreme. And all of us are now afraid of him. We'll do what he wants to do, but we're doing it out of fear. If it's coming in, this now in this generation, because that's why I vowed and I said my children will not be like that. When he's coming to the house, we will run for cover. We want to examine the atmosphere, whether it's clear enough. Then when we know that he's in a good state, then we can come out. But in our own case, we've built in a way that is in the opposite direction. When we are coming, he will just run and jumped at me. In fact, the hugging is becoming too much. I say, you don't know that you're becoming a lady. Now you are having some attributes like a lady should have. So let's take it a bit easy now, because I want her to be, though I don't make it to be very conscious like that, but I think sometimes that's something that can also be born out of fears. But we have to examine ourselves and tell ourselves, how did we even learn these our own ways up until now? It's born out of some of the things we also picked up, because we might not like it that time, but somehow unconsciously we've been conditioned, and somehow we picked some of the traits, and it's what we are just repeating in our own. When we started, I was yelling at my children at the initial stage, especially our first son. He was one that suffered the most from myself and my wife. And unfortunately, we realized, myself and I, we caught ourselves in the act that is exactly the way we are being treated and we are being corrected. So we just projected that same thing with the filters of our own understanding to interpret that that's the best way to discipline a child. In fact, our first son, the very early age of our marriage, is going to 21 years now. We flogged nonsense out of the boy. And now we now saw the flip side. And I hated this thing while I was young. But we have to, when we gain better perspective and understanding, we sincerely apologize. I told them we didn't know better. If we knew better, we would have acted better. And it takes a lot of humility on the part of a parent to be able to come to that time and be able to apologize to your child that you gave birth to, that you are responsible to. And so that some of the things that really help, so they come across, and we've developed that environment whereby they are free to express themselves, even when we are angry with what they're saying, without any fear of intimidation. I hope that helps.
Fantastic. I can see more questions coming in, but yeah, I will try and, fantastic. You said it well. You have to model it. You have to show them rather than just saying it. So you've answered, you have to just show those children, well, no matter the age, you'll be able to know. But as they grow older, you can now have discussions, for you to be able to elicit what's your own value, what do you think is important, what matters to you. And some of them will be telling you. A friend of mine was sharing me that one of our daughters said that one of our values was privacy. So the family now had to kind of start to respect. So what she doesn't like is, she doesn't like to be, if you're doing like that video that you said you did, the daughter wouldn't want that posted anywhere. She wouldn't want others to just see it. So in infusing it, you have to kind of, get to a place where you're working together, asking for permission. Would you like this or something else before? So fantastic. We have to model these values when they're older and they can understand, start to discuss, get materials, resources that can help you out. Let me see. So the next question I have is it okay? Esther is the one that's asked the question again. Okay, I'll come back. I'll take that. That'll be the last question. So we're going to officially apologize. Normally we finish by 8:30, but because we have one or two questions, we're going to. But if honestly and sincerely, if you've got a commitment or appointment, you are free to leave. Honestly, we won't take it. What's it called? We are happy for you to leave. And just before you leave, I'll try and put, if you live in the UK or in Europe and you're not in our WhatsApp group, I'll put it here. That's where we pass most of the information. That's where we make a lot of, and it's easier for us to communicate that way. And there are more things that in the pipeline that you don't want to miss out. So if you want to leave, but you're not part of our WhatsApp group, I'm posting that in the chat. Feel free to join us. You're welcome at any time. But if you know that, I'm probably not up for this, I'll see this information anywhere else, and that's fine. The next question I have here says that, so Olushola is asking for the recording. Yes, you would get it if you're registered, if you're in that group. So if you're not in the group or you're not registered anywhere, you might not get it because we wouldn't know how to reach you. But if you can join the WhatsApp group, or if you're registered for It Takes a Village, we would normally send out emails. Okay, so the next question, again, probably links to the question. So I'm going to do like a 2-in-1 for you, Deli, if you don't mind. Okay. It says that, it says here, in a situation where all this doesn't exist between parents. No, you know what? No, there's a question I missed, and that question is linked to mine. I'm in the WhatsApp group, fantastic. We'll show you get it. Okay, so let me see how I'm going to move this. Oh, there's a question. I don't want to miss that question. Please bear with me. Bear with me. It's a question that I saw. after Esther's question. Oh, goodness me, come on, you this question. Aha, now, Emmanuel Oshontade said, they just moved to the UK with the family. What practical ways do we have to impact our kids to withstand the pressures of moral decadence around them as they go to school and associate with their peers? Now, I'm linking it with the question I had. So I liked when you were talking about those values, and very, very similar. So mine, when I was writing it, I just said that, you see, for the younger generation, which of course, you know, the student, what they're faced with, how would they be able to understand the importance of family values, or, you know, what is right? Do you understand? Like you said, there's that thin line is fading away gradually. How would they be able to understand, especially when they're being bombarded with conflicting messages, social media, even the government itself offers conflicting messages. So how do they now understand the importance, and how can they keep those right values beyond, you know what? And I'll give an example. My daughter, we were having a discussion one day, and she said to me, I said, sometimes it's like those who do right, who stand by integrity, who do the right things, oftentimes don't get, you know, to the limelight, don't get to that point where everybody's celebrating them. It's those ones who are, in quotes, doing the wrong things. Maybe let's say, for instance, someone decides that, oh, nudity is going to be my way of life, and then, you know, begins to attract this thing. Or, oh, I can do it and then change my ways, you know, maybe those in the media, celebrities and all that, who do all that, and they get known, but the people who are living right by the right values, children don't feel that, what's happening to them? Why don't I just join the bandwagon? And, you know, so help us, you know, talk about how do we make these children understand, especially, you know, and I align with what the first question I read out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. It's really tough, I must say. And I will say that, because we can't sugarcoat it, it's tough. Even our girl that turned 10 when we came here in 2020, by 2021, that was when she turned 10. I know the extra work we're doing. The older ones have been entrenched with certain values, so it was easier. I used to tell my wife that I'm imagining those who gave birth to their own children here, or who came when their children are so young. Number one thing I would say is we have to be prayerful. 2, we cannot overemphasize communication. You can't stay far away from them, because the number one thing you want to establish is your friendship with them. You need to be able to create that atmosphere where they are free to come to you. And please read wide and be ready to answer difficult questions. Because my son, that's analytical, before he left secondary school to now start doing his A-levels, he will come sometimes and he asks some questions about the gay-related case. We told deep down, this is how my eye is deep down, but in the outside, I just smile like this. So we have to be mature, and we have to also, because that is what we are contending with. You have to do a little bit of study, and you have to have some answers. If you don't have answers, you need to talk to some people out there dealing with it. And gratefully, we're having this forum here now. You cannot overemphasize communication. We have to continually pray, because it's a battle between light and darkness. Truth be told, except you are not Christian. If you're a Christian, there is a battle. And that's why you cannot scare your child away. It takes wisdom, it takes patience. How, if they do something that annoys you, you can be angry, but don't be destructive in your approach. Don't be harsh in your approach. Those were the mistakes myself and my wife made then. If it was in a foreign country, we raised the first one and we're doing that, I'm very sure maybe we would have lost him. And it's such a sensitive thing. And if you are here on the leading of God, then you know there's a reason for you to be here. And that's why we're having this. That means you have a voice. So to that extent, I would say, let's be prayerful. Let's communicate daily with them. Let's create that atmosphere of friendship. You have to be friends with them. Our 10-year-old that is now going to be 12 this May, because we created that atmosphere, when they are going to start teaching them on transgender something in school, she told us ahead and said, oh, that's good. In my mind, I was wondering, what is all this? What is all this? But I wasn't showing it. I was calm, because that alone can make them to be more curious. And if they see that fright, then they might not even want, they will keep their mouth shut. I don't want to panic my parent. So we embrace it as if there's no big deal, but we made it very clear. Okay, just come and tell us. When she came, said the teacher that was teaching them said, in fact, one of his children at home is a gay, that you have the right to decide which sex you want to be. There's a bill that is being attempted to be passed, that even from childhood, that let it be that their gender should not be added when a child is born. Let the child now grow to a point where he's aware or she's aware and decide that, okay, I want to be a man, or I want to be a male, I want to be a female. That is the world where we are in, we are confronting. So we have to play this game a step ahead, play all the possible scenarios, and do what we have to do. That means we are also learning. We have to be broken from our old ways of doing things, because that is not the reality now. And that is one thing I'm learning. When I came, I thought, okay, we'll start ministry very, very soon. I saw so many differences that if I try some things, maybe I will end up in jail. So I have to just slow down and understand the culture. But the safest one, myself and my wife have started now, is in the family life. And I was saying, okay, marriage still works. We tagged it like that marriage still works, and we're running a campaign on it. The whole idea is that the decadence that we're experiencing in family front, we want it in a way whereby there will be changes, and it still is to buttress the fact that there's importance in family values, and there's a way it impacts on today's reality and today's society. So I think with that, it will help a bit to be able to balance the pressure that comes to you and how you manage your own children. You cannot afford to be enemies to your children. Scolding continues, but to be scolding with love. Discipline continues, to be disciplined with love. And if you now need any other information different from that, maybe that can be discussed maybe outside of this forum because of time.
Yes, so because of time, honestly, this is a conversation that feels like we should go on and on, but we would have so I said officially, I can say that nobody's ready to go. So you can't hold me accountable that I kept us late. We finished at 8:30, but people are still hanging on. I'm going to take 2 more questions and then we'll just wrap it up. So House of Saviors, don't just sit in House of Saviors, guys. We need to be in House of Commons. Be making it. You heard the stuff they are planning to pass into law, that a child should now decide when they grow. Well, let me not say anything on that one. Now, when you were explaining earlier, when you said that within yourself and your wife, you're able to model the values, the question you answered earlier. So someone here is asking, said in a situation where all this doesn't exist between parents, because in our world, again, based on complexity and all that we've got, we know how the dynamics of different homes have changed. And a lot of people who are having to do it alone, who are single parents or raising kids on their own, not as a fault of theirs, but complexity. This is the world that we live in. Anyway, so they're saying that what better ways can we instill these values if it's only one parent that is committed? So this person didn't give dynamics, it didn't give the specific dynamic that they have in the first. So maybe the other parent is there, but just not willing to, or maybe they're separated, but let's kind of address it all together. Let's just give dynamics that maybe there's a party that is just not involved. Like, I'm talking about,
Our advice will approach it 2 ways. One, if the other party is willing, let us seek for help so that we can establish that healthy relationship between the husband, the father, and the mother first. Now, in the event, we are just making an assumption here, then in the event that the person is not even willing to talk to a counselor, a professional counselor, to even make an amend, because the first and foremost is there's supposed to be unity of purpose. So if that is not happening, then I think you need to find a way to also now talk to a professional counselor. There's a way to manage. It's not the best, but if there's a party that is unwilling, then you can be given a little bit tips here and there how on your own you can try to achieve that. But it's going to be tough, because if the father goes southward and the mother goes northward, we'll be confusing the children. And I'm just feeling and imagining the state of being of the person that asked this question. It can be very, 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 very frustrating. It can be very frustrating. And I'm just praying that the partner will be willing to listen if you suggest, if he or she will be willing to talk. We can now give the strategic perspective to it, that this thing goes beyond the two of you. It goes down to what it will impart on the children and what it's going to leave in them, and how the ripple effects can continue. Because the kind of children that grow from here, the value they will learn is that nothing is wrong with being disunited. Nothing is wrong with having a separate opinion, and you, by all means, just go and do it, whether your partner is agreeing to it or not. They won't like it now, but that is the conditioning some of the children will be seeing now. And unconsciously, when they grow older, that's what they will also now manifesting or playing out in their own relationship. But I really, really pray that the partner will be willing. If the partner is not willing, then we can have a conversation, we can reach out to Starbucks, then we can see another way, like more of a coping mechanisms in a way whereby you can deal with it, and at least let's get the best of it, even when one party is not. So we look at the scenario where this person is not contributing, then what kind of wisdom will you now use? Not making this person feel slighted, as if you are not agreeing with him, and at the same time, you're able to achieve the objective of what you want to achieve in the life of the children, without necessarily dividing yourself and helping them to see that it's very obvious that two of you are not together. So it's a bit complex, but the details of the story will help to narrow down exactly what to be done.
Fantastic. See, guys, honestly, for the people who have asked this question, people asking certain questions, the truth is people go to doctors when they have health problems.
Yeah.
They go to psychiatrists when they have mental and all that, but people often don't look for help when it comes to their relationships or family. But guess what? That is so important, because we are relational beings. You can't, live alone or survive alone. It's your life. If it was such that we could survive alone, then God would have just said, okay, I'm just going to create Yemiko Malafe, nobody else. We can't. We have relationship. He made us, so that we can relate to one another. So the truth is, you can't. So you need a support system, and there are many ways. So it might be with any form of relationship, but especially when it comes to your core relation, which is your family. Honestly, seek help, because if it's not going well, it could affect your mental, it affect your physical, it could affect so many other areas. So please get help, honestly, because some of those questions, the answer can be dealt with in details. You need to really sit down and say, this is one area. And like you said, there are coping mechanisms that you need. And sometimes that coping mechanism is going to change your partner. Or let's say even the partner is not, you're not together and all of that. Guess what? Because two people have had conflict does not mean that these children who knew nothing about your conflict and how you could not manage it should not be dragged into it. You should be matured enough as adults to say that we are raising a different set of people. Let's put our differences aside and raise these children whichever way works better. You don't need to bring them in or call the child to be abused. So those dynamics you can afford to stay with, but get help. Honestly, that's the truth. The last question that we have is a 2-in-1. It's like, someone has put it together. It's like the similar question. When you talked about the first child that you had, and that, you used to do a lot of flogging and yelling based on what you knew back then. So somebody, in fact, two people have said, so how did you get past that state of yelling and flogging? That's one. The second question, again, is wrapped into the same one. And they said, how did you retrace your step with your first son? Because I have the same issue.
Yeah. How do we get past is when we gain the knowledge, and we are gaining the knowledge here now. That's the first part, because assumption is the lowest form of knowledge. So if we've come to that awareness, that is the first step. And I think that's what we're having here. How do we get past that? When we got it, I told you earlier, I said we apologized. Now, they are not that bad. They are just resentful. And when they now know that you are consistent in your humility towards them, and they could see an obvious change that you are giving them the respect, it might not happen overnight. And they might even be doing, you know, there's a way they do. Just keep at it. Just keep at it. And it's just a matter of time. On their own, they will see it. And I can't say whether it's after 1 month, I can't say whether it's after 3 months, but I know if you are consistent with it, after a period of time, they will start changing. I was just telling you that he was the one now speaking our mind to the younger one. My wife, deep down, I wasn't doing that, but I was just composing myself. But deep down, it's like, yes, it's good. Yeah, it's good.
Why do you keep composing yourself? Please teach me, because earlier when you said deep down, you are doing like this.
Yes.
I'm doing it deep down. I do it physically, like.
No, I think his personality. I am able to do it like that, but my wife will give it out. So I think personality plays out here. So that's how we're able to get past it. But we were very sincere. And sometimes when we even wrongly accuse them, when we've not really had the full understanding and we knew that, we will not discover that we are wrong. We are never too arrogant or big because they are parents, where they are responsible for them. No, humbly, we apologize and we let them know. And when they see the genuineness, it's just a matter of time. I'm telling you, with prayers, and they can see what you are now, the steps you're taking, they will have a change over time. I'm also discussing with somebody who's a director of one college somewhere. I don't want to mention the name. And then this was having this same battle with the son. And instead of him to build friendship, the person sent the son to Nigeria because he wanted the discipline to take place there very well. I say, he missed it by blood. The boy now developed more resentment. We had like over 1 hour chat over dinner and just giving an idea of how best to be able to go about it. These are some of the things I was actually also telling you. They just want that sincerity. You've not lost the child. The child will just need to now start seeing the consistency in you, that you are really apologetic, and he or she is seeing changes. But please be ready, because you might see some acts of behavior that will still want to throw you off balance. So that's when you now have to tell yourself, you have to maintain your cool, you have to maintain your calm. But after situation calms down, you can call the person, talks like man to man. Now, if you go into his room and you open the door, mommy, dad, why didn't you knock? Oh, I'm sorry. I'll go back, I'll close the door. Because sometimes we parents were unconscious because we knew them when they were when, and now they are not. We are the one that we are the last to ever see that our children have grown. It's outsider that will see that they've grown. So unfortunately, we'll be relating with them with an old aspect, old picture of who they used to be, not knowing that they've transcended, they've grown past that. Their level of reasoning is totally different. Which is what my second son is doing now, and it's now motivating myself and my wife, very well. And we were just so impressed. The first one, when he talks now, say, baby, we have to be extremely careful. It's as if we want to still be treating these people as if they are children. Even the 12-year-old, very expressive, very challenging, challenge your talk, ask you why, and all those things. We are very, very careful with them. But our natural self in our old state, you hear a lot from us. But that has helped. And I'm telling you, you have to exercise a bit of patience, understanding, sensitivity, practicality, and let God also be involved as well. And I trust that God will help you win them back.
Fantastic. I have totally enjoyed this. I don't know about you guys, but let's just, celebrate Dele once, again and again. He's done a fantastic job. I'm going to stop recording now.
All right.